Part 1. The Adam. Adam was the first man. Not the first man, in fact, as there may have been many others before him, but none of them said no. And so history could not record them since they had no egos. And this is my perception. How could Adam have been the first man? There may have been millions before him, but no one ever said no. They couldn't become men, could not become egos. Adam said no. Of course, he suffered for saying this, and was expelled from the Garden of Happiness. Adam is a man, and every man is like Adam. Every childhood takes place in the Yardim du Eden. Every child is as happy as the animals, is as happy as the primitive being, so happy as the trees. Have you ever noticed when a child runs through the trees or on the beach? Because he not human yet. The child's eyes, although clear, are still unconscious. She will have to leave from the Garden of Eden. This is the meaning of Adam's expulsion from the Garden of Eden, for he does not more part of unconscious happiness, became conscious when eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge. He became a man. The fact is not that Adam was once cast out, but that every Adam has to be cast out again and again. Every child has to be thrown out of the garden of God, for it is part of the growth. The pain is that of growth. The individual has to lose it to gain it again, and earn it consciously. It is about your burden and your destiny, your anguish and your freedom, which is both a man's problem and a greatness. Why is it that man is never very satisfied with who he is, and with what existence offers you? You're always looking for something better to do, looking to be someone different, always wanting more when the other has more than he was given. As the saying goes, the neighbor's grass is always greener. Why that? It's because man has been confused. It is directed to where nature does not foresee that he is. It doesn't move towards its own potential, is trying to be what others they wanted him to go, but that cannot result in satisfaction. When there is no satisfaction, the logic says, maybe it's not enough, take more of it. So he goes after more, starts looking around, and everyone leaves with a smiling mask which demonstrates happiness, so that deceive each other. He also comes out with a mask so that others will think he is happier. He thinks others are happier. The neighbor's grass looks greener, but it is greener on both sides. The people who live in the other side of the fence sees your grass, and it looks greener. It really looks greener, more thicker the better. This is the illusion created by distance. When you get closer, you can see that's not quite the case. However, people keep their distance. Even the friends, even the lovers keep at a certain distance, as too close is dangerous, since can see your reality. And since man has been misguided from the start, anything he does will do to let him remain unhappy. Nature has no notion of money, otherwise dollars would have grown on trees. Nature has no notion of money, as this is a pure invention of man. It's useful, but it's also dangerous. When you see someone very rich, you might think that maybe the money brings joy. Look at that person, how happy he or she seems to be, and then go for it. Of money. Someone is healthier, run after health. Someone is doing some other thing and looks very happy, so follow it. But it is always others, and society has organized itself in such a way that man will never think about your own potential. And the problem is, he's not being himself. Just be himself, so that there is no suffering, no competition, no annoyance at the fact that the others have more, and that he has no more than others. And for those who like grass more green, no need to look at the neighbors, because you can make your own grass greener. It's very simple to make it look greener. However, you are just looking everywhere and all the lawns are beautiful except yours. Man has to be rooted in his own potential, whatever it may be, and no one owes him give directions and guidance. They must help you, wherever you go and whatever you are making, and the world will be unbelievably pleased. I say I never felt any discontent, even in childhood, for the simple reason that I never allowed anyone deviate from what I was doing or what I was trying to be. This helped me a lot. It was difficult, and the difficulties continued to grow, and now the whole world is against me. But it doesn't bother me. I consider myself very happy, very content. I can't think that it could have been otherwise. In any other position, I think I would have been unhappy. The world is against individuality. It's against the human being, just your natural self. World wants man to be just a robot, and since he agreed to be a robot, man finds himself in trouble. Man is not a robot. That was not nature's intention. Therefore, that it is not what it was meant to be, nor what it was meant to be, is in a constant search. What is missing? Maybe better furniture, better curtains, a house better, a better wife, a better job. Throughout life, the individual makes attempts and runs from one place to another. However, society confuses him from the start. I strive to bring the individual back to himself, so he suddenly find that all discontent has disappeared. There is no need to be more. Man is enough. Everyone is enough. Why is it so difficult for an individual to love himself? Every child is born with a huge love for himself. It's society that destroys this love. It's the religion that destroys that love. For if a child grows up loving himself, who will love Jesus Christ? Who will love the president? Who will love parents? The child's love for you, it has to be diverted. The child must be conditioned so that his love is always directed to an object external to it. This makes man very poor, because when love someone other than yourself, be it God, the Pope, your wife, your father, your husband, your children, whoever is the object of his love becomes dependent on the object, becomes an object secondary in his own eyes. He becomes a beggar. Man was born an emperor, absolutely satisfied with himself. However, your father wants him to love him, his mother wants him to love her. Everyone around you wants to become an object of your love. Nobody cares that a man who cannot love himself can't love anyone else either. That's why a very crazy society is created in the places where everyone is trying to love someone, and they have nothing to give, nor the other person have anything to give. Why lovers fight, tease, and offend each other constantly For the simple reason that they don't get what they expected to get. Both are beggars. Both are empty. A child brought up correctly will be allowed to grow up with love toward him. It will become so full of love that sharing it will be a necessity. She looks so overloaded with love that will want someone to share it with. So love never makes the person dependent on anyone. She is the giver, and the giver is never a beggar, and the other is also a giver. And therefore, when two emperors, masters of their own hearts, find, there is great joy. Nobody is dependent on anybody. Every individual is independent and well-centered and well-grounded in itself. It has roots that go deep in the inside of your being, from where the juice called love comes to the surface and blooms, opening thousands of roses. This type of person has not been possible until now because of the prophets, the messiahs, the incarnations of God, and all other types of idiots. They destroyed man for his own glory, your own ego. They completely crushed him. It is possible to see the logic of two, one. Either the Messiah, the Savior, becomes the object of love of the individual, and the individual becomes just a shadow following him blindly. Or the individual, if he is fully satisfied, it overflows with love and blooms in thousands of roses. And, in the last case, who will you mind being saved once you're already saved? Who cares about paradise since it's already in it? The priest will die and the individual will learn how to love himself. The politician will not have followers. All institutionalized interests of society go bankrupt. They are all thriving on a very subtle psychological exploration of man. But learning to love yourself isn't difficult. It's natural. For the one who is able to do something that it's not natural, and you've learned how to love others without loving yourself, so it's very simple. It has done what is practically impossible. It's just a matter of understanding. The simple understanding that you have to love yourself, otherwise you will lose the meaning of life. It will never grow up, it will simply grow old. It will have no individuality, will not be truly human, dignified, integrated. And besides, if you can't love yourself, you will be able to love no one else in the world. So many psychological problems have arisen because the man has been turned away from himself. He is not worthy. He is not what he should be. and his actions must be corrected. It has to be molded with a certain personality. In Japan, though, there are 400-year-old trees. Their height is only 15 centimeters. Japanese think it is an art form. It's murder, pure murder. The tree looks old, but it's only 15 inches tall. It would be 30 meters high towards the stars. What the Japanese made? What strategy did you use? The same strategy used against humanity, against beings humans. They put the tree in a bottomless pot, so when the tree's roots grow, they cut it in a constant process as there is no bottom in the pot. The roots are cut to size that grow, and because of that, as the roots do not grow deeply, the tree cannot stay high. It gets old, but it never grows. Exactly the same thing that is done to human beings. Self-love is a basic need for human growth. And it is that's what I teach the individual to be selfish, which is natural. All religions teach people to be altruistic. Sacrifice yourself for any stupid idea. The flag, just a rotten piece of cloth. Sacrifice yourself for the nation, which is nothing but a fantasy, for the earth is not divided into nations anywhere. It's a trick of politicians to divide the earth on the map. People sacrifice themselves for lines drawn on the maps. They die for religion, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, and lead this in such a way that the individual is trapped. If you die for the nation, you will be called a martyr. In reality, however, you are simply committing suicide, and that too for a foolish reason. One who dies for religion will reach paradise and enjoy eternal blessings. They manipulated the citizens. But one thing is basic in this manipulation, that is, man must not love yourself and hate yourself because it's worthless. Everyone has a lot of self-hatred. And can he who hates himself find someone who will love him? If you are not ready to love yourself, it is impossible for anyone else to love you. Everyone accepts the idea that if they don't follow certain rules, religious dogmas, ideologies, policies are not worth anything. At birth, man is not a Christian, a Catholic, and he is not born a communist either. Every child comes to the world like a blank sheet of paper, that is, completely clean. There's nothing written about the child, whether in the Bible, the Quran, the Gita, or Capital by Karl Marx. No, there is nothing written about it. The child, in addition to not bringing any sacred book with her, still arrives with the utmost innocence. However, innocence becomes their biggest problem as everyone around him are wolves, who hide in politicians, priests, parents, and teachers. All they jump upon your innocence. They begin to dictate things about this new being who, later on, will believe that these are your heritage. They destroy the heritage. And then it's possible that they enslave, to make you do what they want, if they want the individual to kill innocent people. There are religious mafias, there are political mafias, and they will exploit people. These mafias can be enemies of each other, but on one point they all agree. It should not be allowed to the man love himself. This cuts its roots from its very being, and consequently, he becomes a helpless individual, rootless, like a simple wood thrown into water so they can do anything they want with it. People in the United States were killing poor innocents in Vietnam. What did they want with it? And it wasn't one-sided. They were sending their own citizens, men who had not yet tasted anything of life, to kill in the name of democracy, in the name of America. But why should anyone sacrifice themselves in the name of something? Muslims and Christians fought and killed each other in the name of God. Both are fighting and killing in the name of the same deity, God. Strange the world that we create. The strategy is very simple. Destroy a person's natural love for themselves. With that, she makes him so unworthy in his own eyes that he's willing to do anything for a gold medal, just to feel that you are worth something and you are someone. Who has never seen multiple stripes and generals colored attached to the uniform? What kind of stupidity is this? Those stripes are still increasing as the general kills and destroys himself. Anyone can have them, all those colors on their shirts. Apparently, there is no law that can prevent you from having them, but whoever uses them will look just plain silly. Those generals, don't they look silly? They are respected and great heroes. And what did they do? Murdered many people from their own country and from several other countries. and these killers are still rewarded. Has anyone seen any society reward its lovers? No, lovers must be damned. No society allows any kind of respect to lovers, because love is a curse for society. Therefore, the first thing that all institutional interests have to do is to divert man from the love, what they have achieved so far. Millions of years, and man continues to be a slave, and to feel a deep complex of millions of years, and man continues to be a slave, and to feel a deep complex of inferiority and indignity, because it is not capable of fulfilling all that is required of it. In fact, the whatever is required is so unnatural that there is no way to fulfill it. And through the absence of dignity on the part of man, messiahs continue to get bigger and bigger, as they say, and they promise that they are the saviors and that they will save man. Man cannot save man. He was never allowed to learn to swim. On his own, man can just drown. Politicians continue to give hope that soon there will be no more poverty, and poverty continues to grow. It is not decreasing, it is increasing. In Ethiopia, thousands of people are dying every day, and anyone would be surprised to learn that there are 500,000 people in the United States who suffer from overweight and obesity, and who are getting more and more fat. In Ethiopia, people are shrinking, starving, and dying. In the United States, people are dying from overeating. Does anyone think this world we've created is normal? Half of India will face the same fate as Ethiopia soon, although the government of India is selling and exporting wheat to the outside world. The people themselves will die, and not in small quantities. About 50% of India is at the limit, and at any time it can be making Ethiopia even bigger. However, political leaders sell the wheat to other countries because they want nuclear power plants, atomic energy, so that they too can compete in the absurd race that has been unfolding. All this happened in the name of altruism. I want you to absolutely become selfish. Love yourself and be yourself. And don't be confused by any kind of person, whether religious, political, social, or educational. The first responsibility of the individual is not, it is turned neither to religion nor to the country itself. Your first responsibility is to himself. Just see, if man loves himself and takes care of himself, his intelligence will reach your peak and your love will overflow. The philosophy of selfishness will make man truly altruistic, for he will have so much to share, so much to give that for him the act of giving will become a joy, and that of sharing, a celebration. Altruism can only be a byproduct of self-love. The fact of not loving yourself makes the human being feel weak, because love is food and defines the strength of man. How is it possible for someone to feel responsible in a way natural? The man continues to place his responsibility on someone else's shoulders. God is the responsible, fate is responsible, Adam and Eve are responsible. The serpent that seduced Eve to disobey God is responsible. Look at the idiocy of this whole matter of the man dump all the responsibility on someone else. A snake, maybe millions of years ago. I tried hard to carry on a conversation with a snake. But they don't talk. By the way, they don't even listen. I discovered that snakes don't have ears, that they are not part of your physiology. And if they can't hear, how could they talk? And how could they persuade Eve? But man has to dump his responsibility on someone else. Adam dumps her in Eve. Eve in the serpent. The serpent, if he could speak, would pour it out on God. Thus the people continue to throw their responsibilities on others, not understanding that if they are not responsible for themselves, they will not be real individuals. Dodging responsibility is destructive to the individuality of each. However, man can only accept the responsibility when you have a huge love for yourself. I accept my responsibility and rejoice in it. I never dumped mine responsibility in no one, because this is losing freedom. This is becoming a slave at the mercy of others. All that I am entirely and solely responsible for it. This gives me a big force. It also gives me roots, gives me balance. But the source of this responsibility is the fact that I love myself. I've also been through the same type of mass exploration, although I've made it clear from the start that if I'm going to heaven, I'll refuse. For free and spontaneous will, I'm ready to go to hell. At least I'll have my independence, my own choice. My parents, my teachers at school, and my teachers at college fought with me. But I said, one thing is certain. I cannot accept any bribe to become a slave. I would rather suffer for eternity in hell, but I will remain with the real me. At least I will have this joy, the joy that this is my choice, and that no one forced it. Would it be possible to have fun in paradise if he stayed there as a prisoner? What type of paradise is one in which man has to follow Jesus Christ, Moses, Buddha, or Krishna, where he's supposed to be a blind believer, where he can't ask questions, and where he can't ask about anything? This paradise is worse than hell. However, people are led astray from their own sources. I want people to come home, to respect themselves, to feel the joy and the pride that existence needs them, otherwise they wouldn't be here. I want to rejoice that existence cannot happen without them. First of all, that's why who are here. Existence has given them an opportunity, that is, a life with enormous treasures hidden within themselves, treasures of beauty, ecstasy, freedom. But the individual is not existential. And yes, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu. And I want you to believe in one thing, in existence. There is no need to go to any synagogue or church. The one who doesn't can experience the sky, the stars, the sunset, the sunrise, the flowers blooming, the birds singing. Existence as a whole is a sermon. It was not prepared by some stupid priest, it's everywhere. You just have to trust yourself, which is another name for loving yourself. And when he trusts and loves himself, it is obvious that the individual assumes all the responsibilities of the whoever he is, and whoever he is, on his own shoulders. This gives the experience so great as a human being that no one can enslave him again. See the beauty of an individual who can stand on his own 2 feet. And happen the whatever happens, be it joy or sadness, be it life or death, the one who loves himself is so integrated that will be able to enjoy not only life but death as well. Socrates was punished by society. People like him are liable to be punished because they are individuals and, as such, do not allow anyone to dominate them. Socrates was poisoned. He was lying in bed, and the man in charge of giving him the poison was preparing him. The sun was about to set. The time was right. The court had given the exact time, but the man was late in preparing the poison. Socrates asked the man, "Time is passing, the sun is setting. Why the delay?" The man couldn't believe how someone who was about to die was so wotrade with the exact time of his own death. In fact, he should have been grateful for the delay. The man he loved Socrates. He had heard it in court and realized its beauty. He alone had had more intelligence than Athens as a whole. I wanted to delay a little longer, so that Socrates could live a little longer. But Socrates would not allow it. Then he said, "Don't be lazy, just bring the poison." The man giving Socrates the poison asked him, "Why are you so excited? I see so much splendor in your face. I see so much inquiry in your eyes. Do not understand? You will die." Socrates explained, "That's what I want to know. Life, I knew. It was beautiful, and even with all her anxieties, it was still a joy. The simple act of breathing is already joy enough. I lived, loved, did what I wanted to do, said what I wanted to say. Now I want to taste death, and the sooner the better. There are only 2 possibilities. Or will my soul continue to live in other forms, as the Eastern mystics say, which is a great emotion, as it will be possible to continue this journey of the soul, freed from the burden of the body. The body is a cage and has limitations. Or maybe the materialists are right when they say that when the body dies, everything dies. Nobody remains after. This is also a great emotion, meaning not being. I know what it means to be, and it is the time has come to know what it means not to be. And when I'm gone, what will the problem? Why should I be worried about this? I won't be there to worry, and so why waste time now? This is the man who loves himself. Even the responsibility of death he chose, since the court had nothing against him, was just public prejudice, the prejudice of mediocre people who could not understand the Socrates' great flights of intelligence. However, they were the majority, and they all decided to death of Socrates. They could not answer a single argument proposed by him. Probably not. They couldn't even understand what he was saying, and responding then was out of the question. He destroyed all those people's arguments, and yet, as they were in a city Democrat, they decided that this man was dangerous and that he should be given poison. What was your fault? His fault was, according to those people, to make our youth be rebellious, make our youth skeptical, make our youth become weird. It creates a gap between older generations and older generations. The younger ones no longer listen to the older ones and argue about everything, and this happens by cause of that man. However, the judges were a little better than the common people. They told Socrates, "We will give you some alternatives. If you leave Athens and promise never to return, you can save yourself of death. Or if you want to stay in Athens, then you must stop talking, be silent. Later we can also persuade the people to let him live. Otherwise, the third alternative is that tomorrow when the sun goes down, you'll have to drink poison." What did Socrates do? Said, "I'm ready to take the poison tomorrow or today. Whenever you want, let the poison be ready, but I can't stop telling the truth. If I'm alive, I will continue to say it to my last breath. Besides, I can't leave Athens just to save myself, because then I will always feel like a weakling who was afraid of death, who escaped death, and who could not take responsibility for death either. I've been living up to my own way of thinking, feeling, and being, and I want to die that way too. And don't feel guilty. No one is responsible for my death. I am responsible. Me, I knew this was about to happen, as to speak the truth in a society that lives on lies, fraud, and illusions is asking to die. I don't blame these poor people who decided to my death. If anyone is responsible, that someone is me. And I want everyone to know that I live taking responsibility for myself, and I'm going to die that way. In life, I was an individual. In death, I am an individual. Nobody decides for me. I'm the one who decides on my destiny. That's dignity. That's integrity. That's what a human being should be. What if the earth as a whole were full of people like this man? It would be possible to make this earth a place so beautiful, with so much ecstasy, abundant in everything. However, as the individual is at fault, it is necessary for the man to take responsibility by itself. However, he will only be able to assume it if he starts to love himself, whoever wants to let him be. That is the form existence wanted him to take. If you wanted another Jesus Christ, existence would have created one. To be a Christian is ugly, to be a Muslim is ugly, to be a Hindu is ugly. All being human has to be himself, just himself, just himself. And must remember who is taking a big risk when he declares that he is simply himself, does not belong to no crowd, to no flock. These are all herds. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, communists. He, in turn, is declaring himself as an individual, knowing perfectly well that he is risky. The crowd may not forgive you at all, but it's nice to take the risk of going on. At every dangerous step. The more dangerously you live, the longer you live. And it is possible to live all eternity, in a single moment, for one who is ready to live fully, risking everything and everyone. I don't want you to be a businessman. I want you to be a player. And when is playing, you must put everything into play. You must not reserve anything for the next moment. Then, whatever happens, you will receive a great blessing. Even if you become a beggar, his being will be far more worthy than that of an emperor. Man cannot fall into a worse state. However, he fell because he forgot the smile with the which every child is born, and has lost its way towards health and integrity. The door opens right now, always here and now, where life and death continually meet. The human being chose the orientation of death, because he was from the interest of those in power, and forgot that life passes while drowning in grief. Once a disciple asked Confucius how to be happy, how to be lively. Confucius replied, You are asking a strange question. These things are natural. No roses asks how to be a rose. If the worry is sadness and suffering, there will be time enough in his grave so he can be miserable to his heart's satisfaction. However, while you are alive, be fully alive. From this totality and intensity, the happiness and a happy man certainly learns to dance. What is most desired is for all humanity to be happy, dance, and sing. Thus, this entire planet will become mature and develop consciousness. A sad man, a man unhappy, he cannot have a very sharp conscience. On the contrary, your conscience is weak, monotonous, heavy, dark. Only when he laughs with a lot of desire does the whole darkness disappear suddenly like a flash. It is through laughter that man demonstrates his authentic self. On the other hand, it is in sadness that he covers his original face with the false identity that society expects of him. Nobody wants the people are so happy that they start dancing in the street. Nobody wants to give laughter, otherwise the neighbors will start banging on the walls asking you to stop. Suffering is normal, but laughter is a disturbance. Unhappy people cannot tolerate no one who is not unhappy. The only crime of people like Socrates is that they are very happy people, and their happiness create immense envy in the great masses that live in the misery. The mass cannot tolerate happy people. They have to be destroyed, because they provoke within individuals a possibility of revolt, and they are afraid of that revolt. When the man falls in love with rebellion, he is on the right path.